most profound story is May. So May is I guess she's almost like a distant relative. She is my cousin's ex, but they have a child together. And so she has advanced kidney disease. And we really didn't know her, but she decided that she wanted to leave New Jersey, where she lived, and move to Germantown, Maryland, which is about 15 minutes from where we live. So she picked up and moved to Germantown. But when she got to Germantown, the apartment that she was supposed to move into wasn't ready. And the landlord hadn't prepared her and said that it won't be ready for another month. So of course, me being the only person she knew, in the middle of the night, they drove to my house in their U-Haul and was like, we need a place to stay. Can we stay here with you? And my husband and I were like, what else can we say? Like, okay. So we let her and her two girls move in with us. The very next day, she got a phone call from New York saying they had a kidney for her. And her temperament is such that she doesn't like to ask for help. So I was working from home at the time, and there was all this chatter going on between her and her daughters, but it was like these intense whispers. And it was happening from like 9 o'clock in the morning until 1 o'clock. So I finally was like, what is going on? And so she said, they have a kidney for me, but I have to get to New York by 5 o'clock and I can't figure out how to get there and I don't have money for a plane. And I'm like, it's 1 o'clock, And so I'm like talking to my husband, like, let's get a flight, And my husband's like, can we catch the bus? And I'm like, no, stop being cheap. Let's get a flight. So we were able to get her a flight out of Reagan to New York. However, there were 4 accidents from our house in Gaithersburg to, and her flight was out, like leaving at 3. There were 4 accidents. My husband didn't get to the airport till 4 o'clock. She's panicked. She's never been on a flight in her life. And my husband is able to escort her through the gate and help her to get on a later flight. So she's able to get a 6 o'clock flight. But by then the coordinator had left the building, the Oregon coordinator. And so my husband prayed with her and was like, just go to New York. You don't know what can happen, just go. And if they are not there and the hospital's closed or whatever, then, at least you did the best you could do. And so she went full of fear. We paid for her to get an Uber from the airport all the way out to like West, I don't know, somewhere, West, I don't know. I forgot where it was. But she got to the hospital and the OR staff was already in the operating room and they were waiting for her. And she called us at 9 o'clock, like, I'm about to go into surgery. They waited for me. And what was significant about that is my husband prayed with her right before she got on the plane. And my husband is not an emotional guy. Like, he is alpha male to the max. But he came home and he cried and he was just like, I need God to come through. And I read the Bible every day, but I read the verse of the day, and I'm like so religious with this. Like, this is probably the most religious thing I do. I read the verse of the day and I'm like, God, what are you saying to me in this verse? And it's always been so dead on to what's happening in the situation that, like, I wasn't worried. Like, I didn't have any worry at all, because the verse of the day that day was a verse that says, like, taste and see that the Lord is good. And I knew that May wasn't a Christian. So I was just like, God, do what you do. She's going to become a Christian. I don't know. It was so eerie. He was terrified. I was victorious already. And when she called, he was like, oh, praise the Lord. And I was like, I knew that she was going to have this surgery. And she had the surgery and it was successful. And when she flew back, she had to stay in New York for a while so she could heal, and she was in a nursing home. But when she came back, her place was ready, and she came over and she was just like, I have to talk to you, Meek. And she just tells me her life story. Like, she told me about growing up in New York and how difficult it was. And at the end, she was like, I think God introduced me to himself and I want to get baptized. And so like the next Sunday, we went to our church and we baptized her. And it was so profound that the way it happened. Like, it wasn't that I witnessed to her, but she knew we were Christians. And so now we in the kingdom. And I love this story.